We had a chapter in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon where we met with a high-level Brazilian official at a meeting, started introducing some of our cohorts, and no one ever asked us, why did you have that meeting? What was so important about that meeting? You know, there's a lot of material in there that, as Kit Green, Dr. Kit Green, one of our consultants on the AAWSAP program, said, read between the lines.
Welcome to my channel. My name's Kane. On this episode, we're going to look at the US government's investigation into the UFO attacks in Colares, Brazil. So I started off with a short clip of Dr. James Lakatsky referencing it. On that little clip, he's mixed up the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon and Initial Revelations, but basically he said read between the lines. So we're going to kick it off with Luis Elizondo briefly mentioning it, which I did a book review on it. And I mentioned I'm going to do another episode, so we'll kick off with that, and then we're going to do a bit of a deep dive because it's fascinating.
Tell me what was happening.
These people, the townspeople, were being plagued by UFOs. In some cases, they were being pursued, and reports of these laser beam type, if you will, emissions were coming down and harming people to the point where the Brazilian government actually deployed doctors and the military to investigate. And then when they arrived, they substantiated. They encountered these UFOs, these UAP as well.
But look, I know the report of Colares. Officially, according to the Brazilian government, Colares didn't find any evidence at all.
Yeah. Well, that was not the case. And it was very clear that it was a very legitimate investigation. And what they found was that these things were coming in and out of the area and harming people.
So Luis Elizondo has said that these UFOs were harming people, and this is what I want to take a deep dive into. Okay, so this is chapter 19 of the book Initial Revelations Inside the US Government Covert UFO Program. I'll attach a link in the description for anyone that's interested, but it says, since the 1970s, and probably much earlier, unidentified flying objects have been inflicting injuries, some of which prove fatal to people in Brazil. This fact has been documented by extensive on-the-scene investigations conducted by Robert Pratt, a well-known journalist, and Dr. Jacques Vallée. So we're going to look at some stats, but we're also going to reference, in addition, Bob Pratt's book UFO Danger Zone documents a number of Brazilian UFO encounters in extensive detail. So we're going to look into that pretty soon. When I reference James Lakatsky saying read between the lines, this is what he meant. So some stats are 10 humans died after periods of prolonged illness following their exposure to this technology. 54 people were burned during close encounters. 14 people were left in an unconscious state for short periods of time. People experienced paralysis, puncture wounds. 23 of the people suffering from burns also had puncture wounds. Scarring, rashes, itching, whole number of effects. But it gets more interesting. Shape. It goes for a range of shapes. Like, it's not just one sort of thing, like being seen like a flying saucer. We have people being engulfed in light. This action was extremely terrifying to the victims. You can imagine how it is over there in Brazil. Like, I don't know what it's like in Colares, but, you know. References levitation of witnesses, which we're going to look more into. People seeing different occupants. Some were 3 feet tall, 51 references of 3 feet tall entities, 4 feet tall, 10 of, adult human size, 35 of, and animal-like. We're going to look at a short clip of this. Lieutenant Colonel Urange Hollanda. Hollanda admitted he was once badly frightened when a huge UFO hovered just 100 meters above him and his men. So I'm going to play a little clip of him discussing it now.
Ele me fez uma pergunta idiota, um deles me fez uma pergunta idiota. Ele disse, olha, passou agora, se vocês estivessem aqui comigo, 6h30 passaram 3 luzes muito altas, mas vocês teriam visto. E às 7 horas, de novo. Mas agora eu estou indo embora. Aí perguntou, e que horas passa a outra? Eu digo, eu não sei, isso não é bom de pôr. Não é? Que hora passa a outra? Perguntou, fez a pergunta idiota. E que hora passa a outra? Eu digo, eu vou saber, pô. Fica aqui com o meu filho a noite inteira, pô, olhando para cima. Tá? Aí, mas quando nós estamos conversando isso, um deles disse, olha aqui, em cima. Olha para cima, nós olhamos. Aí o herói brasileiro tremeu nas calças, porque eu olhei e tinha um troço enorme em cima da gente, um disco preto, escuro, parado em cima da gente. Não estava mais de 150 metros de altura. Ele estava parado em cima de onde nós estávamos.
Sem luzes,
Não, tinha uma
sem
luz.
ruído.
Tinha uma luz no meio, tá? Amarela para âmbar, tá? E fazia um barulho assim de ar-condicionado. E alguma vez assim, aparecia esse barulho de bicicleta, aquela catraca de bicicleta. Fazia um barulho assim como se fosse uma catraca de bicicleta, como você pedala ao contrário. Tá? Aquele troço parado com aquela luz no meio. Uma coisa muito grande. Eu acredito que uns 30 metros de diâmetro. Tá? Aquele troço parado em cima da gente. Nós ficamos olhando e ele começou, logo em seguida, começou a emitir uma luz amarela muito forte. Clareava o chão. Muito forte. Ele repetiu isso a intervalo curto, umas 5 vezes.
Qual foi a reação do pessoal da CNI?
Não, de todo mundo, não foi só desse não. Olha, foi tão inusitado, eu nunca tinha visto isso, já estava quase 2 vezes nessa história, e nunca tinha aparecido dessa forma.
So this is the book UFO Danger Zone, and I'd like to just point out after that clip of the Colonel that in Luis Elizondo's book it says that once these files got released, he mysteriously died of suicide shortly after. So that's pretty sus. But this is UFO Danger Zone, referenced by Dr. James Lukatsky in that book. And the intro is by Dr. Jacques Vallée. It says, the book you are about to read is an exceptional account of adventure and description of a true mystery, but it should also be read as something else. A wake-up call to scientists who are seriously interested in expanding the frontiers of our knowledge. So this is going to be the intro. The world is full of many terrors. This book is about one of them, a terror that comes from some place other than Earth. It's a terror that the world's governments ignore or claim doesn't exist, perhaps because there's no way they can protect their citizens from it. The terror comes from UFOs and the aliens that operate them. These aliens are not our space brothers coming here to help us, as so many people want to believe. These are non-human creatures that for years have been tormenting and terrorizing human beings, hurting many and killing some. So I'll put a link in the description for the whole book because I'm not going to go through too much of it. I just want to highlight a few little quotes that I found was interesting. So basically, as I pointed out before, is these UFOs are like levitating people off the ground. So one person says it was like a big silo. It was at least 25 feet tall and had a round bottom, 12 to 15 feet in diameter. A door opened on the bottom. He continued, spreading his hands apart to show what it looked like. And I could see a man and woman sitting in seats like a car. They were sitting still, alive, but very still and stiff. They never moved. The woman looked like she was wearing a dress. When the door opened, a lot of light came out and I felt like I was being pulled up into the object. It was like a magnet. I grabbed a small palm tree and wrapped my arms and legs around it. The light was very hot and I was terrified. He says the pull from the UFO was so great that he was dragged up the trunk until his feet left the ground. Then gravity pulled him back down. This happened 5 times, he said, up and down, again and again. My chest was scraped raw. Januncio said he began crying and thought he was going to die. Then, when the man and woman saw I wasn't going to let go, they dropped something like hot oil on me to make me let go of the tree. I felt like I was between two big fires. I couldn't move. It burned my arms and hurt very much, but I was too afraid to let go. I almost died. I was so scared. And there's many instances similar to this. So something that I thought was interesting is the fact that they kind of reference that these sightings, or some of them, are like an animal. And it sort of like reminds me of the new movie Nope, that a lot of people in ufology didn't like, but for me, like, it sort of seemed like maybe the writers knew what they were on about. Josepha said, "Mama, let's run." By then, the animal had caught me in the beam of light. I started to rise off the ground, and Josepha grabbed me and pulled me back down, but I said, "Go," because the animal's got me. "Run and save yourself," and she ran off. As soon as she left me, a big wind suddenly hit me. The wind was coming from the animal, and it started to pull me towards the light. It was like a tornado, and I got very cold. It pulled my dress up around my waist, and my feet were no longer touching the ground. So that's just a brief commentary on this Colares attacks in Brazil, and you can imagine how scary it would be for some of them. I recommend people read that whole book. I just touched on a few tiny little things, but it's fascinating. It says that one person in there like physically shit their pants when they seen a UFO, and I don't blame them. If I heard stories like that and then I seen one, I would probably shit my pants too. So on that note, if you watched all the way to this, leave a comment on your thoughts. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share to your friends or make your own video on it. But the main thing is just that people like us spread this message, because there's a lot of people saying that this is all a government psyop, and it's like did they fucking, is the American government gone to Brazil in 1977 and they've faked all this stuff, and then they've waited till 2024 and they're like, oh yeah, now we're gonna pretend that there's aliens after we faked this attack in Brazil, and people have done extensive research on it like 50 years ago, and it's all a psyop. Like, it doesn't seem like it's just that simple. So that seems like it's coming from people that aren't informed, and it's our job to spread the message, you know, like Luis Elizondo said. He said, ask questions. And so this is me just doing my little bit as a researcher and someone that's interested. And I didn't know about any of this stuff before. You know, as far as disclosure goes, like Luis Elizondo said, it's a process. So how can anyone be expected for them to dump this information on the population, like a huge amount of info? Like, they're doing it in like stages. They've told us to read between the lines, and that's what I'm trying to do. So check out the information that I'll put in the description. Knock yourself out. Thanks for watching.